and then she ends up hating him because he's actually the enemy. I'm not gonna spoil what it is. You can honestly probably guess, and if you can't guess, then you're like me and natural selection did not choose you. Anyway, my current Taylor Swift hyperfixation. Can you tell? It says that's the way I loved you. Anyway, hey everyone, it's Sunny. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to a new video. Someone asked me in the comments, oh, are you going to do the hyper specific book trope recommendation trend? And I said, now I am. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So I asked on my Instagram story for you guys to send me hyper-specific book tropes that you would want recommendations for. If you are not following me on Instagram already, be sure to do that. It's at sunnykimreads, and then you can be part of videos like this if you want. Follow me on TikTok at sunnykimfour, and be sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. The notification bell if you want to be notified every single time that I upload. And without further ado, let's start with the first book trope. So the first book trope here is brothers love triangle, but then the second one was brothers best friend. I actually have the perfect book rec with both of these things combined. This book series made me realize that these two book tropes are like above god tier book tropes for me. No further questions. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This book series is actually getting turned into an Amazon Prime TV series adaptation, so it's kind of perfect. Not me picking up this book series solely because of that reason. The actor who plays Jeremiah, where did he come from? Why is he so beautiful? Anyway, this book series is literally the perfect combination of both the brothers love triangle and the brothers best friend trope. We follow our main character. Her name is Belly, which by the way is short for Isabella. It's like a nickname. I remember when I first read that I was like, Shema. Her nickname's Belly. It grows on you though. She has an older brother named Steven. Basically her family has been like biffles with this other family because their moms are really close. They've spent every single summer together ever since they were really little at like this beach house. That other family has two brothers in it. The younger one is Jeremiah and the older one is Conrad. Belly's older brother is really close to both of like those other brothers, but since Belly was always like the youngest one and she was the only girl, they always felt like left out. You know the vibes of being the youngest. Is anyone else the youngest in a family? But you know the vibes, like you just want to be included, like you want to play with the older kids. So she has kind of always had that feeling. This book jumps timelines a lot. Did I say timeline? Book jumps timelines a lot. It goes from like the summer when they're like 8 years old to the summer where they're like 15 years old. Where this book takes place is the summer where Belly is 16 years old. People are just like treating her different. She's kind of like grown up. Belly has been in love with Conrad her entire life and best friends with Jeremiah. In this first book, it's mostly like the unrequited love from Belly for Conrad. He gives me Will Herondale vibes. I think that's why I liked him so much. And anything that's giving Will Herondale gets a gold star from me. The second book has Jeremiah's point of view in it, and it's kind of like a childhood friends to lovers slash unrequited love. And then the third book has Conrad's point of view in it finally. It's kind of like the first love, it's always been you trope. The entire thing is a love triangle between two brothers. Oh, like I can't say anything because I love my brother a lot, so I'm gonna step back. Which is like my favorite vibe ever. Like that's probably why I love this trope so much. I always love brothers love triangle because just the angst of like loving two people so much. You just want whatever makes them happy even if it means that you can't be happy. So painful. It's the kind of pain that I love though. The next book trope is fantasy book with good plot and romance on the side. This is honestly the recipe for probably like my favorite book read. There's honestly a lot of books for this, but personally, you know that I love a slow burn. The False Prince trilogy by Jennifer A. Nielsen. Probably one of the first fantasy books that I've read that really made me fall in love with a slow burn. It's like slow burn, but it's like so sweet too. It has one of the best plots of any fantasy book I've ever read. This book takes place in a kingdom where there's like a long lost prince. No one knows where he is, and so this man named Connor, I'm pretty sure, basically takes it upon himself to go around like snatching boys up from orphanages who like could slightly resemble the prince at the age that he should be today. And it's kind of like a fantastical competition trope between all of the boys there because they're trying to compete to become the false prince. Basically, Connor's gonna try to pass off one of these boys as the long lost prince of the kingdom so that he has like political power. And we follow one of the boys who's snatched up by Connor. His name is Sage. He's super smart. He's like a street rat. I think this book kind of made me fall in love with the street rat character. I love a street rat with a heart of gold. I do love that. I think that's why like my first crush was like the animated fox from Robin Hood. You know that I've shared that with so many people in my life. Like guys, who was like your first cartoon like animated crush? No one has agreed with me that it's the fox from Robin Hood, and I'm like, why are you all lying to me? Why are you all lying to me? I know y'all are capping. We follow Sage and a couple other boys. The romance on the side is basically like a super slow burn relationship between Sage and one of the servant girls, Imogen. Is that how you pronounce that name? Can you believe that my entire life I really was pronouncing that name Imogen? That's actually so true. Their romance is actually probably one of my favorite, cutest romances I've ever read. And I just love that, like, not that dramatic. Obviously all of the servants and like the peasants of the kingdom are treated like terribly, and he like always takes special care of her, but she's always like, oh please don't do that, otherwise it'll draw attention to me and then I'm just gonna get like beat up more, you know what I mean? There's like such good like tending to the wound scenes in this. Okay, I need to get moving on. Okay, next, a heist that is not Six of Crows. For this one I'm going to say the same thing that I always recommend when people ask me this, which is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. It's also fantastical and it also has found family. Actually, I love the fact that these are all like POC characters. They kind of all are found family because of the fact that they're outcasted by society. They have such good banter too. Their heists are actually so big brain. Like I couldn't keep up actually a lot of the time. There's so many heists in this and it kind of like makes me stressed out. Like my cortisol level go crazy. There's so many heists and like they almost die like every single heist. It's so stressful. Okay, next trope. I'm going to be executed and you have to watch, or I'm going to be executed and you are the one doing it. Now this trope hits. For this, I'm going to recommend Legend by Marie Lu. You guys know this book series is one of my god tier book series, so I will always recommend it every chance that I get. But we follow two characters. One is Day, the government's most wanted criminal, and then we follow June, and she is like the government's best prodigy, their best soldier pretty much. So she goes undercover to try to find him. He's just living on the street. I'm out here living though. June and Day end up meeting each other and kind of like start traveling together, except neither of them know who the other person is. Like it's kind of like hidden identities. They do end up finding out who each other actually is. She ends up having to bring him in for questioning and he is about to get executed, and yeah, that's the trope. Highly recommend. Okay, next, they're at a ball and they have to act like a couple as a cover and tension. I see this trope and I will raise you. They're at a ball and they have to act like, how do I explain this? One of them is, what is that word called? Like for vampires, but like humans who basically just serve the vampires as like a walking blood bag. I feel like there's a word for it. But for that I recommend Clockwork Angel. Again, one of my favorite book series ever. Part of the Shadowhunters universe, so like if you don't know this universe, which I really doubt because it's so popular, we follow two of our main characters, Tessa and Will. I actually can't talk about Will Herondale. I can't. I get way too riled up. I can't. They have to go undercover. Tessa's pretending to be a vampire and Will is pretending to be, what is that word called? Hello? What is this called? Humans who feed people. Oh, I'm on a weird side of the internet. Humans are farmed for their blood so they can feed. Wait. Oh, anyway. Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but I should have done that Google search on incognito mode or something. Is this what writers feel like when they need to do research and they're like, how hard is it to hide a body? But it's like for their book. The FBI agent in your webcam is like, but anyway, that's what they need to act like. Will is pretending to be that person and Tessa's pretending to be a vampire. Just so much tension and it ends exactly how you think that it's gonna end. Okay, next, friends, but then one of them realizes the other one is actually the enemy. For this one, I'm gonna recommend Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. This book probably did this trope the best out of every book I've read. This takes place in a fantasy slash dystopian world where there's like this disease that's plaguing the city. No one knows why or how. The only cure that they know is something called moonflower that's only available to like the rich because it's so expensive. And we follow Tessa. Oh my gosh, her name's also Tessa. Her and a really good friend of hers named Wes has taken it upon themselves to basically act as Robin Hood. I can't talk about Robin Hood anymore. Oh, this video is turning a little bit illegal. They steal moonflower from like the royal garden and then distribute it to like the poor sector. Then we have like a revelation pretty much like at the very beginning of the book, and then she ends up hating him because he's actually the enemy. I'm not gonna spoil what it is. You can honestly probably guess, and if you can't guess, then you're like me and natural selection did not choose you and it just flew right over your head. Okay, next, long lost childhood best friends to lovers. For this one, I would recommend Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I forget who the main characters are in this book, but I'm not gonna search it up because I'm running out of time. We followed two characters and they were, I feel like you can't even say like childhood best friends, like because they were way more than that. Basically both of them were in the foster care system and they're like foster siblings. Wait, no, it's not right. They were in a group home together, I'm pretty sure. Like they weren't siblings, this isn't incest. And he like always protected her, like no matter what. And this is starting from the age when they were like 5, 6, 7, like you know what I mean? Like fresh out of the womb. Sometime in like middle school, they ended up having to be separated. Follow her point of view. She's like a new student at this high school. They end up re-meeting each other. They just have such a special relationship that like nothing can ever like come between them. It's kind of like childhood best friends to strangers to lovers. I have such a big crush on like the male lead. Next, when the character has a lot of trouble with touching or affection, there's so many books I could recommend for this. Everyone knows what book I'm going to recommend, which is Six of Crows. I feel like this is like the epitome of this trope. Main character Kaz Brecker, this is literally his entire personality. He like can't stand the feeling of like skin on skin touching, which is why he always wears gloves. The second part of his entire personality. He's the head of a gang and he kind of has this reputation of being like the most cutthroat, unfeeling, violent, will do anything for money kind of dude in this city. He has a lot of unresolved trauma and just wants love and has a little schoolboy crush on this pretty girl. Like can't do do anything about it because he doesn't know how to give or receive affection. And yeah, he's just the epitome of this trope. Okay, next, kidnapped and forced on a journey. There's a lot I could say for this one too. I'll say Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. They're both kind of kidnapped and they both escape, but they're like chained to each other and now they have to go on a journey together. Jace is kind of like the head of this crime family pretty much. And then 𝐬𝐭 is again a soldier or like the queen. Physical quest trope, forced proximity, enemies to lovers, sharing their vulnerabilities with only each other. The progression from hating each other, like becoming reluctant allies, becoming friends, to becoming lovers was really, really good. They were just having so much banter and stuff, but then at nighttime, underneath the stars, like something would happen, like one of them would have some kind of breakdown. They would end up like sharing their vulnerability. Okay, next, book with literally a plot twist after plot twist. Also, I'm running low on time, so I'm gonna try to zoom through these next ones. For this one, I recommend Verity by Colleen Hoover because man, that book was actually gave me whiplash, broke my neck. That book was actually crazy. Can I just say that? The wildest. I vlogged myself reading it if you want to see. I'm pretty sure I was wearing this exact same top. Anyway, we follow like this starving writer and she gets hired on to finish this book series by this really, really famous horror author because that author was in an accident that made her unable to be in a state to finish her book series. While she's like in the office though, she discovers like a manuscript of her autobiography. You kind of alternate chapters in like real time versus reading chapters of the manuscript. It's actually crazy. Next, academic rivals to lovers. For this one, obviously I'm recommending The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake because man, this is like the best. Like I have not even read the sequel. Literally nothing has happened in the first book yet, but you already know that it's gonna be a slow burn. Academic rivals to lovers. So slow burn that like literally nothing has happened yet, which meant that I was absolutely obsessed with it. It's like a dark academia slash fantasy, and you basically follow 6 people who are recruited to join this secret society. They all need to kind of like compete with each other because only 5 of them are going to be able to actually join. Follow each of these characters and their POVs, and they're all really distinct and they all have their own like magical abilities, but specifically the 2 youngest ones, academic rivals in university with each other, and they kind of have similar abilities, so they're like kind of always been pitted against each other. Their names are Nico and Libby, and I'm absolutely freaking obsessed with them. I cannot wait to finish the series. Some of the things that they say to each other or some of the things that they think about each other, I'm like, that wasn't very just rivals of you guys to say. Okay, next, boarding school murder slash mystery trope. For this one, I'll recommend Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. It's exactly what this trope is. It takes place at a boarding school. This is like a really rich elite, like freaking top 1% boarding school. Really, really hard to get in, but if you get in, they basically give you all the resources to pursue literally whatever you want to pursue. Our main character, Stevie, she ends up making it into this boarding school because of her love for true crime. The school itself is the crime scene of a very, very famous murder. The only clue that they have is a note written from the murderer, signed Truly Devious. So pretty much exactly this trope. Okay, next, when A loses memory and B can't reveal that they knew each other. One of my god tier tropes. I feel like sometimes people don't like being spoiled that this is even part of the book. So if you don't want to be mildly spoiled, then just skip this section. But for this one, I would recommend The Darkest Mind by 𝐬𝐭 𝐸𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵. Again, one of my favorite book series ever. I will never not recommend this book series. This has one of the angstiest like memory loss trope scenes ever, and it's so painful because I just love this couple so much. Like they're actually soulmates and meant for each other. Do you know what's even better than this trope? Memory loss, but I have a feeling about you. Basically, like all throughout like the second book, it's so angsty because he keeps being like, oh my gosh, like I don't remember anything, I don't know who you are, why do I have these feelings about you? Like it's so confusing. He's just so confused and it's so painful because you know like what he's feeling, you know that he's being confused, and you know the reason why. And the confrontation between them, she finally confronts him about it. Probably one of my favorite scenes I've ever read in a book. It was so emotional, so angsty. One of the most perfect scenes I've ever read in a book. Oh gosh, I need to like reread this book series now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, next, when there's a love triangle but the 2 love interests are equally good, like you literally cannot choose. Okay, listen, I hate like a sucky love triangle as much as the next guy does, but there are some love triangles that deserve rights, and this is one of them. The Infernal Devices. I know this is cheating because I already recommended this book. It's a love triangle between Tessa, Will, and Will, best friend, but like basically brothers, like they grew up together. This is probably like the best love triangle I've ever read about in my entire life, and here's the reason. I'm always on team Will, and that will never ever change, but the reason is because her relationship makes sense with both of them, but I just personally have a preference for Will. This quote, this photo on my wall is literally dedicated to Will Harrington. The ending for this love triangle is like the best case scenario that could have ever happened, and some people hate Cassandra Clare for that, but I honestly love her for that. A book that goes with Taylor Swift's Getaway card. I'm not going to share a book recommendation for this, but the reason I put it in here is because I plan on doing a part 2 to my Taylor Swift book recommendation video where I match a book with one of Taylor Swift's songs and matching the lyrics and everything. That a lot of you guys asked for a part 2, so I just put this in here to let you know that I'm working on a part 2. Same with the next one, which is Secret Identities. I already talked about some in this video, but Secret Identities slash Hidden Identities is one one of my god tier book tropes, and I want to do a dedicated book video just about my favorite secret identity book. So yeah, keep a lookout for that too, also in the works. Okay, next, when the author reveals something that will happen at the end of the book, right at the beginning. For this one, I'll recommend one of the books that I just finished, which is The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont. And this is a fictionalized tale of the 11 days that real-life mystery author Agatha Christie went missing, still an unsolved mystery, told from the point of view of Agatha Christie's husband's mistress. The thing is, like, no one knows what happened to Agatha Christie in these 11 days except for me. And so we know right at the beginning what happened, which is that Agatha Christie went missing for 11 days. And then when she came back and people asked her what happened, she was like, I have no memory about what happened. And you like get the backstory, all the secrets and all the plot twists that actually happened. And then we end with Agatha Christie being discovered. Okay, next, where the female main character is sick, male main character is crazy, and someone is like, female main character wouldn't want, and they get mad. I'm pairing this one with the next trope, which is refusing to acknowledge their feelings and absolutely losing it when the other is in danger. I don't know if this is breaking the rules, but I make the rules here. So again, I'm going to recommend Six of Crows for this, with the same character, but for the couple Kaz and Inej, because this is literally exactly what happens almost right at the beginning of the book, which is one of my favorite scenes ever, where they're trying to like leave the city, but they are pretty much ambushed. And Inej gets really hurt, and Kaz kind of like goes crazy, and like everyone's like, oh, what's up with him? Well, that's not very just an investment of you. But yeah, probably one of my favorite scenes ever. Okay, next, tending to the wounds, but the sexual tension is big. For this one, again, I will raise you. Even better version of this trope, in my opinion, as someone who loves a slow burn. That's for the book that I'm reading right now, Blood Witch, part of the Truth Witch series. So I would highly recommend reading this series because there's a lot of tending to the wounds. But I have to say, like, this probably takes the cake for like my favorite tending to the wounds. The tension is so much, too much. Really like refuses to have her tend to his wounds, and she will like try, and he will be like so like just angry and like tensed up and stuff because it's like too much. It's like so freaking good. Like the tension is so freaking big, I can't even explain it. Enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers. For this, I'd recommend These Violent Delights by 𝐤𝐤𝐚𝐥𝐬. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, except it's kind of like second chance romance. It takes place in 1920s Shanghai between two gangs who have a blood feud with each other. The heirs to both of those gangs are Juliet and Roma. They're enemies because they're in opposing gangs. Then they ended up secretly becoming lovers with each other before the book even starts. Then a big betrayal happens that you don't really know the details of until the end of the first book, and it turns them back into like enemies, like bigger enemies than before. Next, when character A is nervous and character B swoops in and says, just look at me, you're okay. Probably one of my favorite scenes to ever happen in a book. Such a good trope. I don't think I've ever seen it done as well as Midnight City by J. Barton Mitchell. So many scenes like this done so well. This book series is like a dystopian, post-apocalyptic, aliens have invaded and they're the only survivors vibe. We follow Holt Hawkins and he's a bounty hunter, and then we follow Mia and she has a bounty. In this alien invasion, there's something called the tone, which is exactly what it sounds like, and it affects everyone who's above adult age. So the older you get, the more that this impacts you. You have episodes where like inside your mind you're succumbing to the tone. So that's what happens to Mia, and Holt is immune from this. Along their enemies to lovers journey, the scenes where they get really close, when Mia is having like a really hard time and she's succumbing to the tone, she's like kind of in an episode, and then Holt has to go and like comfort her and like cradle her and be like, just look at me, like you're okay. This book did these scenes so freaking well, I can't even, so highly recommend. Okay, next is just found family. Again, one of my god tier tropes. I love found family so much. I'm really picky what I consider to be like the best found family, and I have a high standard. Probably one of my favorite found families in any book series I've ever read, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I can't even express how much I'm in love with all these characters. I can't express how much I'm attached to all of these boys. Like every single Raven boy, I love them so much. It feels so real to me, and it makes me genuinely upset that they actually aren't real and I can't join their friend group. I just love their found family so much. Like they all live together. All of them have kind of dysfunctional home life some way, and so they all just find solace with each other, and they all just like know each other so well. Just like the bond they have, like all the boys with each other. Love them so much and I care about them so much. Banter is so funny, and they're all so like strange, like in their own way. I have such a special place in my heart for all of them, and I just love this found family. Secret romance with lingering gazes and I Think We're Alone, Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean Chen. The romance in here is like bodyguard trope. Follow a girl who finds out that she's actually like the long lost princess to Japan. So she gets swept off to Japan and she's assigned a bodyguard. I have like the biggest crush on this bodyguard, let me tell you. They meet on the plane. This bodyguard is so fine for no reason. They end up getting closer and becoming friends. They actually don't like each other at first, so it's kind of like enemies to lovers. They're not allowed to be together, so they always have to like have these like stolen moments like at nighttime in the car. Okay, I think that's the last trope that I'm gonna include in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on my socials, they're all linked in the description. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.